Hey, everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. You're in my corner, and I have a very special guest in the corner. Would you like to unveil your not so secret identity?
Hi, what's up?
I'm assuming you have a superhero name.
Yes. I'm Kira Buckland, Rena Chan on Twitter. Nothing super exciting, but yeah.
I'm sure you can think of plenty of costumes for that. I mean, I know you really like ponies. You could always have like some sort of pony costume. It'd be perfect.
I've got my costumes all set for Fanime. I'm super excited about that.
I think you're doing a JoJo one, if I recall correctly.
Yes, I'm super into JoJo these days, so I'm going to be doing Jolene, the protagonist of part six.
Very exciting, and that must be fun to do the makeup for, just because that's such an interesting character.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely kind of a learning experience. Like, okay, does this work? Maybe not, but I've done it a few times in practice, so hopefully by the con it'll look cool.
That's the best way to do it. I know a lot of people somehow pull a costume out of nowhere in like the last like 3 hours and they're all ready and perfect. And I'm just like, how do you do that? I don't, you broke my brain.
Yeah, I buy my costumes for the most part because I don't have a sewing machine. I don't have the time or patience to learn how to sew, so I kind of just get stuff together and make it look cool. At least I
Hey,
hope it looks cool.
that works out. I mean, I used to actually make costumes for my friends and then they would buy them from me. So that worked for me. I like that part. But I haven't cosplayed in quite a few years. It's just kind of hard when you don't have peripheral vision because you're wearing like a 10-foot wig and you're trying to film something. It just doesn't work very well.
hmm
But for the fans out there, actually, they are really excited because you were recently announced in a show called Blood Lad, which I believe was about a week ago that they announced that.
Yeah, that was one that I was really looking forward to being able to talk about because my character was just so much fun. Like I've played some roles where it was like it was kind of hard trying to get exactly into character and get it just right. And then for Belle, it felt really, really natural, just getting in character, doing the lines and everything. So I'm really happy with the way it turned out, and I can't wait till people can see it.
But yeah, I was reading your Facebook about the character. Do you think it's because you may be related with the character's wacky personality, or you just found something that jived with you, or what do you think was that connective thread?
I think just something where I could kind of go crazy, go all out, and have fun. The original inspiration that I kind of drew on, like when I auditioned for her, was Haruko from Fooly Cooly, which was like one of my first voice acting inspirations. So, then later, when the cast was announced, someone was like, "Oh man, I wish Curry Walgren was Haruko," or I mean, Belle, and it's like, well, if only they knew that I kind of went off of her performance as like a original inspiration for what I wanted to do with Belle.
Oh, well, that's really cool, and it's glad to hear that other voice actors are inspiring you as well. I know that a lot of people they just have a tendency to listen to a performance and they're like, how can I make that my own? Or they even listen to people in coffee shops and they're like, how can I do your voice? I sound nothing like you. How can I do it? And that's sometimes the best way to, pull a performance out.
Yeah, that's pretty much what I did. I mean, I definitely made Belle my own character, but I kind of just with like sort of like the nasally kind of like deadpan sarcastic sort of thing that was kind of like a reference point I used when I was originally auditioning.
Now, obviously, for characters so crazy, and I know you've been doing this for quite a few years, are there ever times in the booth where you think, oh man, I totally went over the top for that?
Um, Once in a while, but generally directors kind of prefer that because they say, well, we can always pull you back if we need to. Um, Even just like, because I direct as a hobby, like with, my own productions online and stuff. And I feel the same way. Like, if an actor emotes too much, at least I can pull them back. But if they kind of don't go enough, it's hard to push them, get them to push their boundaries. So generally, I find that unless you're playing a character who's supposed to come off as really emotionless, really, I mean, like Kuriyuki Hime from Excel World was kind of an example where I definitely didn't want to go over the top with something like that because she was supposed to be really reserved and played down. But for something like Belle, yeah, I even got that direction. It's just like, yeah, just go all out with it. We can pull you back if we need to.
Well, since you mentioned Excel World, that character obviously is very toned down, as you said, and you have a very bright and bubbly kind of personality. So, was that kind of awkward initially in the booth? Were you like, "Man, I have to be kind of stoic almost"?
It was hard at first, but it was a really fun challenge because most of the characters that I kind of tend to be cast for are really energetic, maybe kind of bratty, something like that. But, playing something, I would say she's in my voice range of what I normally get cast for because, she's a high school student and whatnot. But definitely playing a character that was more reserved. It was a fun challenge for me because I had to make her emotions more internalized because obviously you don't want to make her sound emotionless or flat, but you want her to have that emotion but just concealed, if that makes sense.
No, it makes sense. I would think with a performance like that, you really have to kind of be in your own head about it in a way because you have to really put yourself in that situation.
Yeah.
But for the fans out there, they're going to chase after me with pitchforks and things on fire if I don't actually mention this next role, which I know the game is not out yet. However, you're luckily able to talk about it, which is Dang It Grandpa. I mean, Dragon Roombas. I mean, Danganronpa. So, could you tell us a little bit about your character, at least what you think you can?
Yeah, I was really, really, really excited when I got her name is Hiyoko Sayonji. I was so excited when I got cast for her because I'm a fan of the Danganronpa series. Like I read the read-throughs and stuff before it got localized, and I was just like, oh man, I love these characters, I love the story, this and that. And I really, really wanted to be in the game. And then when the first one got announced, I was like, oh man, like I know the studio that's doing it and I work for them sometimes, but I didn't get a chance to audition or anything like that. And so I was just kind of hoping, oh man, the second one, we'll get the second one right. Maybe I can try it out. And then they're like, hey, you're cast for this character. And I'm like, awesome. So I was really excited and I felt like having a knowledge of the game and the character really helped when going in because they're like, okay, so have you ever heard of Danganronpa? And I'm like, yes, I have. And I know like the entire arc of my character. So then they didn't have to explain like everything about the universe and why they're trapped on this island and that kind of stuff. I think I don't know, that was helpful.
Well, now, were you a little bit apprehensive seeing people's reactions to the first one here in the US? Obviously, it has a cult following, but did you expect as many people to like it and essentially, bug the company for a second one?
Well, I knew it was really popular and had a big fan base. I'm on Tumblr and whatnot, so I knew it was definitely a popular game series. And the thing that kind of made me feel a little bad was that when the first round of the English cast was like, well, it wasn't like announced by the company, but they emailed us and they're like, yeah, you guys can talk about your roles now. So some people did and some people didn't. But I saw people talking about it on a forum and they were saying that, like, oh, she would make a terrible Sayonji. I know she can't pull off a voice that high and this and that. And it's like, well, you haven't really heard me play a character like that. I mean, most of I guess like Chou-Chou and Mugen Souls was probably a good example of me doing like a high-pitched, bratty kind of character, but I don't know if they were like looking at my anime roles or what and just saying that they didn't think I could pull it off, but it's like, come on, give me a chance. Like obviously I wouldn't have been cast for the role if I couldn't do a voice in that pitch.
No, I understand. I mean, oftentimes, at least, our fan base is generally very receptive to dubcasts, and a lot of people here were singing the praise of the first one. So when I would go off on Tumblr, Tumblr is usually where I find some of the worst worst of opinions. People would be like, "Oh, they changed this one name," because the big thing was Genocide Jack or Genocide Jill.
Yeah.
That was a big complaint, or people didn't understand why a certain character was two voices. I guess spoilers for those who haven't played it, so on and so forth. So I was actually really surprised outside of our community that some people did have complaints because I thought the voice cast for the first one was stellar. So I do have high expectations for the second.
Yeah, it really feels like just from what I've heard of, the other cast and whatnot, it really feels like they took care in keeping it close to the Japanese, like keeping it authentic while still making it enjoyable for an American audience. And I think, because normally that's the complaints that people have with dubcast is they're like, oh, they took a voice that was totally different from the original, which can be jarring if you've heard the original Japanese voices. But I feel like, with the first game and whatnot, it seemed like everyone was pretty close. And I thought they fit really well as somebody who, heard the originals and liked them. So,
Well, there is a theory that we often talk about on staff because we often get into debates about it. You know, you've seen it first in Japanese, so you can kind of, your brain almost is like you can only watch it in Japanese. You can't hear something different. And I think that sometimes happens a lot where people aren't willing to give the dub a chance. You know, they're not willing to
mhm.
look at the project in a different light.
But I think, I mean, definitely for Sayonji, I tried to give her the same vibe that she had in the original. And, like oh, I'm gonna act cute, but I'm really mean and I'm gonna laugh at you and step on ants and stuff like that. But then also there's another side of her that kind of comes into play with her relationship with another character.
Well, I'm really excited for that. I did not experience any of the game before it was localized, so sadly I don't want to hear any spoilers about
Yeah, that's why I'm
it.
like, oh, you'll see it
I'll see
later.
it eventually, and then everybody dies, and then I'm sad at the end when all my favorite characters are killed. That's what happened in the first one. It was an emotional wreck for a week.
That's how I feel like reading JoJo's because so many characters. It's just like the nature of that kind of series. It's like, well, a lot of characters die and it makes me really sad. It's like gotta have the tissues ready when I'm reading it.
Well, on the plus side, at least it seems like they're kind of giving it a chance since now it's on Crunchyroll, and it's like, hey, we can finally digest it and enjoy it.
Yeah, I'm really, really happy that more stuff from the series is coming over here. Like we got the game. I'm like, oh man, maybe we can get some merchandise. That would be cool, although I don't need to spend more money.
I know that pain. I collect anime action figures. But for the fans out there that want to pre-order Danganronpa 2, you should go find and do that while we take a short break here on 91.8 The Fan. So don't go anywhere because our special guest is in. Keep it tuned to your favorite station where we play everything you want and nothing you don't. Hey everybody out there, you're tuned in to 91.8 The Fan. My special guest is still here alive and breathing.
Yes, I'm breathing.
That's a good thing. I'd be really scared if you didn't. We'd have to stop the show and call 911. That would be bad. But for the fans out there, they've been asking us, you know, where they can meet you in real life and where they can, you know, get their stuff signed and sing you songs of praise.
All right. Um, well, I posted the links in the chat, but I have Facebook, Twitter, website. I do have a Tumblr, but that's mostly just me goofing around and posting fandom stuff.
Well, Tumblr is the best place for that. But you do have some real life events where people can get a chance to talk to you or either witness you, you know, on panels or ask you questions and things like that. You know, what conventions do you have coming up?
Well, I'm going to Fanime this weekend. I leave for that tomorrow morning, super early. I'm gonna need some coffee. But yeah, I'm really, really excited because I've always wanted to go to Fanime, but I've never gotten the chance. And then this will be my first year. I'm most likely going to be dressed up as Jolene from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. So, I mean, I'm sure there'll be a few people dressed up as her, but I'll like tweet a picture and be like, "Hi, come find me."
So will you post a picture on your Facebook or your Twitter or
Probably on my Twitter. That's usually where I just post like usually like pictures of my cat or like the coffee I'm drinking that day or whatever. But yeah. And I'm also probably going to be hanging out in the gaming room whenever I have some free time. I'll take Pokemon challenges, Smash challenges, Guilty Gear if they have it.
oh gosh, I haven't seen Guilty Gear at a convention in forever. It makes me sad.
I know.
I want to play
Once in a while.
Dizzy.
Yeah, she and Slayer are my mains.
Yeah, Dizzy is definitely my favorite. I love her.
Hmm.
I never see Angel Heart or no, what is it? Pretty sure that's it. Oh god, I gotta lean over at my video games. One sec. Arcana Heart. Not
Yeah,
Angel
I've
Heart.
only played that a few times. It seemed pretty fun, but I don't think there's like much of a scene for it or whatever.
Which is really sad. It actually has a lot of technical points to it. And you'll have to I'll have to apologize for my own cat because she's decided to play with her toy that has a bell on it. So if you hear that, know that there's a kitty being happy.
That's okay. My cat is notorious for crashing into walls and trying to get at my coffee. He's with a friend right now since I'm leaving for tomorrow. Otherwise, you'd hear him like running into walls in the background.
That's a very interesting cat. My cat's a little bit, well, to be fair, I'll embarrass my cat here. My cat's 11 years old, and she always sleeps with me on the bed, and she sleeps near my feet. And one day I had gotten up, and I was saying, "Hi, kitty," and she, turns around, she looks at me, and then she starts licking herself, and I see her kind of edging closer to the bed as she's licking her back or whatever. And then like, as soon as I turn back around, I hear her, and then I look back, and she's on the floor, and I'm like, "You just fell off the bed, didn't you?" And she hissed at me and went under the bed to hide. She's like, "You didn't see that. I didn't do it." But the fans also would like to know, are there any projects that you have coming up, whether they involve cats or not, or anything you can talk about without getting hurt by NDA ninjas?
Um, Mugen Soul Z is coming out, I believe, this summer, and that's up for pre-order. Chou-Chou isn't the main character in this game. There's a new main character, but Chou-Chou does come back, and she's like in little chibi form, and she still has her different personality changes and things like that. So, yeah, you can definitely check that out. Of course, we talked about Blood Lad earlier. Um, and there's also another NIS game called Fairy Fencer F, and I'm playing like four characters in that. Most of them are kind of minor characters, but hey, four characters! And some of my really good friends are in that too, so that's definitely something to check out when it comes out.
Well, the cool thing I would think about playing four different characters is the fact that you kind of get to expand on your vocal range and practice things you might not necessarily do every session.
Like one of the characters I played was almost like a little demon thing with like a sadistic growly voice, and then I played kind of like a goth girl and like a character with maniacal laughter, and then just like a hi, what items would you like to buy today kind of character. So it was definitely fun.
Awesome. And now I hopefully will keep a track of what you're doing on your Facebook page and your Twitter page. And obviously, if you have anything that you have coming up, let us know and we'll let the fans know. But for the listeners out there, is there anything else you want to tell them? Any words of wisdom, dating advice, predictions for the end of the world?
um hmm. Free JoJo's, it's really, really good. Um, drink an iced Mexican mocha if you haven't gotten the chance to. It's the best thing you will ever drink. I'm just like really passionate about the things I like. So, like everyone should do that.
Well, here's a question. Since I'm not much of a coffee drinker and I'm not much into hot drinks, is there any sort of caffeinated coffee-ish drink you would recommend?
Iced Mexican mocha.
Then I will make sure to keep that in mind next time someone invites me to a coffee shop and this time I'll actually take them off on their offer.
Sadly, not all coffee shops have it. It's also called a Mayan mocha sometimes, so you can ask about that. But yeah, I'm hoping that when I'm at Fanime, I can find something like that in the area.
Just need to bring a kit everywhere with you where you can make your own.
I do make my own at home sometimes.
Well, there you go. But no, thank you for this. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah, it's cool to come back because I think I did an interview with you guys, I don't know, like a year or two ago.
It was
And
when Skullgirls came out and we were trying to grab all the Skullgirls cast.
yeah, so I was just breaking in at the time.
So it's wonderful to catch up with you and hopefully we can do so in the future.
Hmm. Here's
And for
hoping
any
things will get bigger and better, right?
exactly. And for any of the listeners out there that missed any of this interview, don't fret. You can find it on the website within the next few days. So keep your eyes peeled to 918thefan.com and your ears tuned to 91.8 The Fan, where we play everything you want and nothing you don't.